Welcome to KetoMealsAndRecipes.com. I really love this time of year. There's so many special holidays and celebrations all around the world. I love being with my family, and I love making wonderful treaty things for them to enjoy. So to continue with my theme of the 12 treats for Christmas and New Year, of which this is the second installment, today I'll be making the snowy coconut macaroons. This is a really easy recipe to make, and it's especially good for people who have never made cookies before, or you're just learning how to cook. So throughout this video, I'm going to be providing detailed explanation and tips how to make sure that your macaroons are successful. If this is your first time tasting macaroons, let me describe them to you. They have a nice firm exterior and a soft, moist interior. And my specific baking method keeps them white and prevents them from getting all brown. That's why they're called snowy coconut macaroons. I don't know if you found this, but with most of the low-carb, high-fat or keto-type baking, is the taste only gets better after a day or two, and they will keep really well on your counter for several days. These snowy coconut macaroons also make a really great hostess gift or a food gift if that's what you like to do. One of the reasons that these cookies are quite stable at room temperature is because one of the key ingredients is my sugar-free sweetened condensed milk. But if you're going dairy-free, you can substitute the sugar-free sweetened condensed milk with my dairy-free sweetened condensed coconut milk. Both work perfectly well. And to achieve the best texture, I highly recommend that you make either of these sweetened condensed milks the day that you're going to be making your cookies, and at least 1 hour before you're going to use the condensed milk so that it gets to room temperature. And one last thing that I like to do for these macaroons is I like to dip them in ganache, which I'll show you how to do at the end. Now the macronutrient ratio for the snowy coconut macaroons is 7.5 to 1, with 2.9 grams of total carbs, 1.2 grams of fiber, resulting in 1.7 gram of net carbs per snowy coconut macaroon. For the macaroons themselves, there are only 7 ingredients, and all of these ingredients are very easy to find in your local grocery store. My regular viewers know that I always begin by first weighing out and assembling all my ingredients, and preheat your oven to 340 degrees Fahrenheit or 170 degrees Celsius, and also place a piece of parchment paper onto your baking sheet. And the last prep step is to place a piece of aluminum foil, non-shiny side or the dull side up, onto your oven rack. Now let's get started. Pour your egg whites into your mixing bowl and whip at high speed until the egg whites are at a light frothy stage. After your egg whites are nice and frothy, all you need to do is just dump everything into the same bowl. The order doesn't matter. I poured in my sugar-free sweetened condensed milk, or as I mentioned, you can substitute with the dairy-free sweetened condensed coconut milk. Then add your vanilla, and next add the optional ingredient, almond extract. Although I say almond extract is optional, I strongly recommend you do add it, because the almond extract gives these macaroons just a little extra flavor, and in my opinion, it makes the macaroons taste a little more tropical. Also add your finely ground salt, then toss in the shredded raw coconut flakes. Then all you have to do is just simply stir all the ingredients together. Just make sure that everything is well combined and all the ingredients are evenly distributed. To make sure that all of my macaroons are the same size, I'm going to use a 1 tablespoon ice cream scoop. But you could also use a 1 tablespoon measuring spoon if you don't have an ice cream scoop. When I'm scooping, I like to dip into my dough and drag the scooper along the side of the container. This will pack the dough nicely without being too firm. And if you have too much, then just run your scooper along the top of the bowl to scrape off any excess dough. When I do them this way, by following all these steps exactly, I found that each of my macaroons was very close in weight. They weighed about 26 grams. And the occasional macaroon was 27 grams, so I'm pretty pleased with that. Also, after scooping each of your balls, just place them directly onto your parchment-lined cookie sheet, but leave enough space between each of the macaroons so that the heat will circulate evenly around the cookies. So keep working until you've made all of your macaroons. As I continue to make my macaroons, I would like to invite anyone new to my channel, or if you haven't done so before, please consider subscribing. And please share this recipe with your friends and family or on your social media. Your help in spreading the word is one of the best ways that my channel grows. And by all means, please like and leave a comment. One of the highlights for me is reading the comments and providing my responses. So to preempt the question, why did I call these snowy coconut macaroons? And the reason is because in the baking process, I wanted my macaroons to look whiter and more like snowballs rather than the crispy brownish texture that a lot of the macaroons have. So how do you make them look like snowballs? The first thing that I do after shaping all of my macaroons, I put the extra coconut flakes that I reserved into a wide bowl. Then gently roll each of the macaroons in these extra flakes, but try not to make them too round. You do want to maintain the flat bottom. You'll find that the flakes will stick nicely to the surface and make the macaroons look like fluffy snowballs. After rolling each macaroon in the coconut flakes, place the coconut macaroons back onto the parchment-lined baking sheet. And again, remember, leave the space between the macaroons. Now here's a special trick to bake these beautiful little snowball cookies. And this little technique will keep your macaroons as white as possible. First, place the cookie sheet in the middle position of your preheated oven. Then place a sheet of aluminum paper on a rack, and then place this particular rack at least 2 rungs above the cookies. The reason you're using this aluminum sheet is because the aluminum sheet will keep the radiant heat from the top element from browning the surface too quickly. So set the timer for 10 minutes, and at the 10-minute mark, then remove the tray with the foil and bake for another 10 minutes, this time uncovered. The total baking time is 20 minutes, and when you look at the cookies, you will notice that the bottom edge of the macaroons will be slightly browned. That is exactly how the cookies should look. Don't be tempted to leave them in the oven any further. Immediately remove the cookies from the oven and be very careful because the macaroons are very crumbly at this stage. Now let the macaroons cool for about 20 minutes on the parchment. Then you can easily pick them up and move them from the parchment directly onto your cooling rack. This will prevent the bottoms from getting all mushy and moist. Now simply leave the macaroons alone until they're completely cooled to room temperature. And as always, if you have time, leave them to cool and set overnight. By doing so, you'll find that you'll get the absolute perfect exterior texture and the nice moistness will be retained on the inside. Now the cookies are completely done and you can serve them this way without dipping them into chocolate. And they're truly my little snowball macaroons. However, because it's the holidays, and the first thing I'm going to do is make my ganache, but if you like, you can also use my keto chocolate truffle recipe. The link will be provided in the description below. Now here's the directions for the ganache. The easiest way to make this ganache is to take real chocolate, chop it up and add some coconut oil. And if you don't like bitter chocolate, add some sweetener to your taste, but don't make this chocolate too sweet. You really want a nice contrast. What I have found is that the bitter chocolate of this ganache perfectly complements the really nice sweet taste of the macaroons. And although the version with my truffle chocolate, which is more like a milk chocolate, tasted amazing, I really found that the bitter chocolate complemented the macaroons the best. But you'll have to decide what degree of sweetness you want for your chocolate dip. But it's up to you and your individual preferences. So please leave me a comment and do tell me if you prefer the unsweetened ganache or the truffle version sweetened ganache. I just thought of something. An even easier way to make your chocolate ganache is to take a 90% Lindt chocolate bar, chop it up, add 1 teaspoon of heavy cream, and then melt it in a double boiler or in your microwave. So whichever way you wish to make your ganache, all 3 methods of making ganache work perfectly well. Just choose the one that works best for you. And when your chocolate ganache is ready, all you have to do is dip each of the macaroons in the melted chocolate to a depth of about 1/8 or 3 millimeters from the bottom. You don't want the chocolate to overpower the macaroons. After dipping each snowy coconut macaroon in the chocolate, just place them back on the parchment. And when you've dipped all of the macaroons, there's another thing you can do with any of the leftover chocolate. You can drizzle a bit of chocolate on top of a few of the macaroons, just like this. This will create variety, and this is how you do it. Then take your tray of macaroons and place it in the refrigerator for about 20 minutes or so, just long enough for the chocolate to harden. That's all there is to making these snowy coconut macaroons. I really hope you enjoy them. Thank you very much for watching this video to the end. A reminder that the link for the snowy coconut macaroon recipe will be posted in the description below. And I do hope you come back and check out my third of the 12 Treats for Christmas series. Here's a hint. Treat 3 will be gingerbread people, with a detailed explanation of how I decorated them. And also don't forget to check out the end links where you will find more Christmas treat ideas. See you next time. Cheers!